How y'all doing today? Welcome back. Um, I guess the general topic for today is a little bit different. It's not the usual philosophical rigmarole. It's gonna be more so like something realized, like another inkling of like a realistic philosophy. And it's like definitely heard it being said, like the idea of taking things one day at a time. You know, existing in the present moment. I feel like those go hand in hand. I feel like I've talked about it in many videos before, like living in the present moment, making sure you're here because all that exists is the present. There's no past memory of a present. There's no future expectation of a present. Like you're always going to be in that present moment no matter what. So it's about making sure you're here and grounded and actually able to do stuff within that moment. One more day of struggle is all one must endure. You have to treat each day as a new life sometimes. And at first, I didn't know what that meant, you know, to start each day like a new life, to allow some sort of partial freedom. Sounds crazy. But it definitely should live each day like a new life. I feel like a lot of our motivation and discipline gets distilled into the realization that like, oh, this is ongoing. Oh, this is gonna keep going. Like if you knew you had to study for one more test your whole life, you're gonna study pretty hard. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, I got motivation to do this. I'm gonna do this. But realizing you have more is like, oh shoot, like I'm not gonna study for this as hard as I could. I'm not gonna put all my effort. I'm not gonna be fully present in doing this. And I know sometimes it doesn't require being super present, but at the same time, like why not put your best foot forward in everything you do, especially if it concerns you. It's about placing yourself within the things that you're doing, making sure that you're present. This also ties into concentration, like the video I posted, I don't know, a couple days ago. It's about being there for yourself, making sure that you're the one putting that effort forward, making sure that the outcome that you desire is something you're actually moving towards. Because failing and not trying your best is one thing, and then failing and trying your hardest is another. In my experience, when I don't give like 100% of my effort and I do poorly, then I'm just like, dang, I could have done better, and living with that regret of not knowing whether or not I could have done better is, I feel like, uh, more draining than the realization that I just couldn't do it. You know, like if you were to try out for some type of sports team, right? And the whole summer before you're not putting in any effort, you just show up to the trial, try, and you be like, dang, well that's all right. I didn't even try. I didn't really practice. But if you practice that whole summer and you still take that L, you just got to take that L. Like it's, I feel like that's a more content feeling in general. Now, I mean, to not focus on the negative aspects of that, you know, putting your best foot forward in general will leave you in a better spot than not doing so. Enduring that one more day, or you know, treating each day like a new life is somewhat integral to staying disciplined. Motivation is something I feel like just runs out. You can't stay motivated by the same something forever. Um, like you can't just one day be like, oh yeah, I'm feeling this today, because that's, I feel like, partially a chemical reaction. Like some days I wake up, I'm like, oh yeah, let's get to it. I might go to the gym 6:30 a.m. like a psychopath and actually do it. But some days I'll wake up and be like, oh yeah, this ain't it. I'm not doing this today, or I don't want to. And that's when you have to kind of be like, okay, well, this is what we do. Like I do this. I get up. I work out. I do this. This is a normal thing. Sometimes you have to bypass your general feelings of the moment in order to get to that point. Um, and I know that's like a little bit contradictory to think, oh, you have to somewhat like ignore your present feelings in order to get to that point. But we ignore our present feelings all the time. I mean, have you ever had a presentation and then you like feel anxious before or feel like you don't want to do it? You still do it because there's certain things in life that you have to put that little bit of sacrifice. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your own feelings in a way in order to get to the goal that you truly desire. And it's about cultivating your desire, cultivating who you are as a person in order to figure out what exactly you want and the steps that you need to take in order to get to it. In my experience, I wouldn't necessarily say I realize all my desires and whatnot, but as for the things that I do know that I want, know that I can achieve, I always keep it in the back of my mind. It's like a habitual thing. Like in reference to the philosophy I create or whatever, um, it never stops in my head. Like I'm not like, oh yeah, I gotta make this philosophy, I gotta write this down. Like typically, ideas just come, and you press upon those as soon as they do. It's about being present with yourself enough to know when you should be doing stuff that serves you. Because I feel like a lot of times in life we don't do stuff that serves us. We do stuff that, I don't know, we feel in the moment is good for us, or in the moment makes us feel good. But it's about that longevity. It's about someone having pride in yourself or volition. It's about, at the end of the day, being there for yourself, treating yourself like someone you're trying to help instead of someone you're just watching. If you were trying to help somebody get to their goal and whatnot, are you telling them to like relax and take breaks all the time, or relax with your goal? No, you're telling them to get on top of it and actually try to get to that point. And I feel like we have to hold ourselves to that same standard. Otherwise, we're going to suffer from mediocrity. I feel like the difference between a lot of people who are, major successes and people who are, I don't know, I wouldn't even call it unsuccessful. But in terms of to the degree of success, I feel like most people talk about like being rich, 6 figures, 7 figures, living in a mansion, whatever. That type of stakeout. I feel like it really takes conscious effort. It takes being present on the day to day. That 1% every day. That instantiation of effort in the moment. Sometimes it does take you to not feel it. It takes you to do it. Not everything is gonna be happy all the time in terms of your path to success. Sometimes it's bumpy. Sometimes it might be fun. Sometimes it might be up. But it's that duality that makes it worthwhile. If life was all good, then we wouldn't have it bad. If there was always light out, then we wouldn't have it dark. Some of these things exist in reference to one another. Day is only in reference to night. Happiness is only in reference to sadness. There's distinct instantiations of this duality in reality that allows us to have, these happy times, sad times, emotions. And, it gets negative sometimes. It does. But it also gets positive. Sometimes you have to endure a little bit of negative in order to get to a better positive. And I mean, like, in general, sometimes you have to study for stuff and it doesn't feel good to study. Like, I hate studying, personally. I don't like doing it, but I always get down to it. Like, if I need to study, I'm going to do my work, or I'm going to sit down and do that essay. Because I know, like, getting a good grade on this or doing good in general is a benefit to my life. It's a benefit to who I am as a person, as well as who I want to be in general. I feel like if we think that, if we don't acknowledge, the day to day, and acknowledge that like everything's a long continual loop, and we get stuck in the cycle, I feel like the day to day struggle becomes compounded, as if we stack stress or something like that, or I don't know. I feel like to live without reference to a day or to, the past is freedom. I'm not saying like disregard all your memories and things you've learned along the way, but to live without reference to, previous anxieties is freedom. Because who we are is nothing but the reaction to the world around us, and allowing yourself to be free from previous reactions or previous habitual things like, I don't know, the way you care about your day is freedom. To know jail after being free is definitely like a hellish thing. But to be in, that jailish jail place since birth, and then to be free, earth would be heaven. So it's about freeing yourself from your own constraints, the constraints of your mind, the constraints of the idea of struggle or challenge. It's about freeing yourself from the shackles of yourself or the shackles of society. Um, I think I had a quote: "Don't let faulty expectations shackle you from becoming who you are, or doing what you want." I think that was a quote, and it's true. I feel like a lot of the shackles and things holding us back in this life, in general, are not grounded in reality. More so grounded in our own anxieties and insecurities. They aren't so much there as they are within us at all times. So it's about, realizing what's holding you back, and like really just taking it one day at a time.